You know, when someone manages to escape trafficking or an abusive relationship, you'd think the nightmare is over. But so often, it's not. There's this invisible cage that remains, one built from debt and a destroyed credit score, all intentionally created by an abuser to keep their grip. So today, we're going to break down how this financial control actually works. And we're going to look at a new law and a growing movement that are working to tear it all down. Okay, let's get into it.
First things first, let's nail down this key term, coerced debt. This is all about non-consensual credit-related stuff happening in a relationship where one person is using control to dominate the other. And I want to be really clear, this isn't just your typical identity theft. It's way more insidious. It's about weaponizing the entire financial system as a tool for abuse.
And the fallout from this is just devastating. For survivors, this coerced debt feels like a second prison, you know? It traps them long after they've physically gotten away. It can stop you from getting a safe apartment, a car to get to a new job, or even the job itself. But, and this is the important part, the story does not end there. There's a new law and a really powerful movement that are now carving out pathways to financial freedom.
So what does this actually look like in the real world, on paper? Well, imagine your trafficker controls all your money, and you get evicted. Boom, that's on your record. Or maybe you were forced into committing a crime. Now that criminal record follows you everywhere. They might use your ID to open a bunch of credit cards and just max them out. Or maybe you have medical bills from all the trauma that there's just no way you can pay. Every single one of these things can pop up on a credit report, making it feel almost impossible to start over.
But here's where the story starts to change. There has been a massive breakthrough, specifically for survivors of human trafficking. It's called the Debt Bondage Repair Act, and this law takes direct aim at the exact problem we've just been talking about.
And get this, it happened incredibly fast. If you look at the timeline, Congress passes the act in late 2021. By the summer of 2022, the official rules are out, and just a month after that, the whole process goes live. This kind of speed doesn't happen by accident. It was a direct result of years of survivors and advocates shouting from the rooftops about how damaging this financial abuse really is.
And right here, this is the language from the act itself. The purpose is crystal clear. It's designed to stop consumer reporting agencies, the big credit bureaus, from reporting negative information if that information came from being trafficked. The bottom line here? This creates a real legal way to just wipe the slate clean.
Okay, so that's the law on paper. But how does it actually work? How can a survivor use this thing to fix their credit?
It really boils down to three key things a survivor has to submit. First, the usual stuff, proof of who you are. Second, and this is the absolute crucial piece, a victim determination document. This is official paperwork from a government agency or an approved nonprofit that confirms, yes, this person was a victim of trafficking. And third, they just need to provide a specific list of all the negative stuff on their credit report that needs to get blocked.
And this breaks down the process perfectly. The survivor sends in their documents. Then the agency has to move fast. They have to put a temporary block on that info within just 4 business days. Then they review it all, and they have to make a final call within 25 business days. Finally, they let the survivor know what happened. It's a real, structured process with teeth and, importantly, with deadlines.
Yeah, this table just drives home how efficient this is designed to be. 4 days for a temp block, 25 for a final decision. These aren't just suggestions. They're the law. It's all built to give survivors relief as quickly as humanly possible.
So, the Debt Bondage Repair Act is, without a doubt, a huge leap forward for trafficking survivors. It's a game changer. But as advocates started putting it into practice, they found a kind of unseen gap. The law is super specific, which means its protections don't actually cover everyone who's going through financial abuse.
Which leads us to this really critical question. What about all the survivors of domestic abuse or other kinds of partner violence who are suffering the exact same type of financial damage, but their situation doesn't fit the strict legal definition of human trafficking? Are they just left out in the cold?
Okay, this is where we have to get into a really important difference. On one side, you've got debt from fraud. That's what we usually think of as identity theft, right? Someone steals your info without you knowing and opens an account. But on the other side, you have debt from coercion. And this is way more complicated. In this case, the survivor might have actually signed the loan papers or been the one to swipe the card. But, and this is the key, they only did it because of threats or intense fear or psychological manipulation. Their participation wasn't actually consensual.
And that, right there, is the heart of the problem.
Our current definition of identity theft is just too narrow most of the time. It has a really hard time understanding that you can be forced to participate in something without actually giving real effective consent. And this legal gray area leaves so many survivors of coerced debt stuck with almost no way to clear their name and fix their credit.
So this gap has kicked off a whole new chapter in this movement. Advocates are now fighting to expand that circle of protection. They're arguing that we have to fundamentally redefine what we consider to be financial theft.
And at the very front of this fight are incredible organizations like the National Consumer Law Center and the Center for Survivor Agency and Justice. They are taking this issue straight to the top, pushing for big systemic changes that will protect all survivors of this kind of abuse.
So what have they done? They've submitted a formal petition to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Yep, the same agency that wrote the rules for the trafficking law. And their requests are so smart and specific. They're asking the CFPB to change the definition of identity theft so that it includes any action taken without effective consent. That one simple-sounding change would be a bombshell. It would unlock all the existing identity theft protections for a whole new group of survivors, giving them a real shot at financial recovery.
And that really brings us to our final thought here. The Debt Bondage Repair Act proves that justice in this space is actually possible. It created a real path to freedom. And this ongoing fight to expand those protections makes us ask an even bigger question. When the abuse is financial, what does justice truly look like? Well, maybe it looks like a clean credit report, or getting approved for your own apartment. Maybe it just looks like the quiet freedom to finally build a new life completely on your own terms.